I didn't find you when I was looking. That's the part no one talks about enough. I found you after I stopped chasing echoes of people who only knew how to stay for the easy parts. After I learned that loneliness isn't always about being alone, it's about being unseen while standing right next to someone. I found you after silence taught me more than arguments ever did. There was a time when I thought love was supposed to feel loud, big gestures, big promises, big words spoken too early by people who didn't know how heavy those words actually were. But love isn't loud. Love is the quiet decision to stay present when walking away would be easier. It's the patience to listen instead of react. It's choosing honesty even when honesty risks comfort. When I finally found you, it didn't feel like fireworks. It felt like exhale, like my nervous system finally understood it didn't have to stay on guard. Like my heart didn't need armor anymore, just awareness. I didn't fall into you, I arrived. And in that arrival, I realized something simple and terrifying at the same time. This wasn't about passion. This was about responsibility, about showing up when the story gets complicated, about loving someone not for who they help you escape into, but for who they ask you to become. That's when I knew I finally found you. Love doesn't begin the way movies teach us. It doesn't start with certainty. It doesn't arrive fully formed. And it doesn't promise you safety before it asks for courage. Real love usually begins after disappointment, after you've tried to be everything for someone who never really saw you, after you've learned how exhausting it is to explain your heart to someone who only listens when it benefits them. That's where truth starts. Because commitment isn't born from fantasy, it's born from clarity. Most people don't fail at love because they don't care enough. They fail because they confuse intensity with devotion. Intensity burns fast, devotion burns slow and warm and steady. Commitment is not staying because you're afraid to be alone. It's staying because you've looked clearly at another human being, their flaws, their fears, their unfinished edges, and you've decided this life makes sense with you in it. Not perfect, not easy, just real. Love isn't proven in the first 6 months. Anyone can be kind when they're still being discovered. Anyone can promise forever when the cost is still theoretical. The truth about love shows up later, when effort is required without applause, when patience is tested without reward, when attraction has to mature into respect. That's when commitment stops being a word and becomes a behavior. Real commitment sounds quiet, sounds like I'm tired, but I'll listen. I don't fully understand you yet, but I want to. I'm triggered, but I won't punish you for it. I'm scared, but I'm not leaving. Love doesn't mean you won't hurt each other. It means you refuse to turn hurt into cruelty. One of the hardest truths to accept is this: love is not about finding someone who never disappoints you. It's about finding someone who takes responsibility when they do. Commitment isn't about staying the same. It's about agreeing to grow together, even when growth is uncomfortable. Most relationships don't end because love disappears. They end because people stop choosing accountability. They stop asking, "How can I be better for you?" and start asking, "Why aren't you enough for me?" That shift, subtle but deadly, is where commitment dies. The truth is, love requires humility. You cannot build something lasting while protecting your ego at all costs. You cannot love deeply if you're always trying to win. Commitment means sometimes saying, "I was wrong, I overreacted. I let my past speak instead of my present. I hurt you, and I want to understand how." Those sentences don't weaken love. They anchor it. A committed partner doesn't look for exits during conflict. They look for understanding. They don't weaponize silence. They don't threaten distance. They don't keep score. They ask better questions. What are you feeling beneath the anger? What do you need right now? Not to win, but to heal. How can we protect what matters instead of proving who's right? Love isn't about merging into one person. It's about standing as two whole individuals who choose alignment. Commitment means respecting each other's autonomy while protecting the bond you share. You don't control who you love. You care for them. You don't demand loyalty. You earn it through consistency, presence, and integrity. And here's something people rarely admit. Commitment is not a feeling you wait for. It's a decision you practice. Some days you'll feel deeply connected. Other days you'll feel distant, distracted, unsure. Commitment is what bridges those days. It's the choice to show up even when the emotional weather changes. Because love isn't a permanent high, it's a long conversation. And like all meaningful conversations, it includes pauses, misunderstandings, and moments where you have to slow down and listen again. The truth about commitment is this: you don't stay because you're afraid of losing someone. You stay because you believe the relationship is worth tending to. Love grows where effort is mutual, not equal, mutual. There will be seasons where one carries more, times when one is tired, grieving, or finding themselves again. Commitment isn't keeping things perfectly balanced. It's making sure no one is carrying everything alone. You don't abandon someone because they're struggling. You don't disappear when love asks you to be patient. You sit with them. You learn their language when they can't find the words. And you trust that someday, when roles reverse, they'll do the same. That's not romance. That's partnership. Partnership is quieter than passion, but infinitely stronger. The truth about love is that it will expose you. It will bring up your childhood wounds, your fear of abandonment, your need for control, your resistance to vulnerability. Commitment means not using those wounds as excuses. It means saying, "This is mine to heal, and I won't make you pay for it." Love doesn't fix you, but it will invite you to become responsible for yourself. And that invitation, if you accept it, will change you. You stop running. You stop performing. You stop trying to be impressive. You become present. You learn that love isn't about being chosen once. It's about choosing each other daily, especially on the ordinary days, because commitment lives in the ordinary, in shared meals, in late night check conversations after long days, in choosing respect when attraction feels familiar instead of new. This is the truth people don't post about. Love is built by two people who are willing to stay awake emotionally, to notice when distance is forming, to address resentment before it hardens, to speak before silence becomes a habit. Commitment doesn't mean you'll never question love. It means when you do, you question together, not alone. And when you finally find someone who understands this, someone who doesn't chase intensity but values consistency, someone who knows that love is something you protect, not consume, you don't feel swept away. You feel grounded. You feel steady. You feel like you can finally stop pretending. And that's when you realize this isn't the beginning of a fantasy. This is the beginning of something real. It doesn't move cleanly from pain to peace. It circles. It revisits old rooms. It pauses where you thought you were already finished. And real love doesn't demand that you arrive healed. It asks that you arrive honest. Most people are carrying invisible injuries into relationships, not because they want to hurt anyone, but because no one ever taught them how to sit with pain without turning it into defense. Healing begins the moment you stop pretending you're unaffected. It begins when you say, quietly and without shame, "This still hurts. I'm afraid this will happen again. I don't always know how to trust what's good for me." Love that lasts makes room for those sentences, not to fix them immediately, not to rush past them, but to listen. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. People think forgiveness means forgetting, or excusing, or pretending something didn't matter. It doesn't. Forgiveness means refusing to let old pain decide how much love you're allowed to have today. It's not about erasing memory. It's about releasing control. And that's hard because pain feels like protection. When you've been hurt, holding on to resentment can feel safer than opening your hands again. Anger feels like armor. Distance feels like control. But love doesn't grow in guarded spaces. Healing requires you to loosen your grip slowly, carefully, at your own pace, and trust that the person in front of you isn't responsible for the wounds behind you. That doesn't mean ignoring red flags. It means distinguishing the past from the present, A healed response sounds different from a wounded reaction. A wounded reaction says, "You're gonna leave. I know it. You're just like the others. I have to protect myself at all costs." A healed response says, "I'm scared. Can we talk about this? This is touching something old in me. I need reassurance, not distance." Forgiveness is choosing communication over assumption, and that choice, repeated, is what turns pain into wisdom. One of the quiet truths about love is this: you don't forgive once, you forgive daily. You forgive misunderstandings, you forgive imperfect timing, you forgive moments when your partner shows up human instead of ideal, and they do the same for you. Love isn't two perfect people meeting. It's two imperfect people learning how not to punish each other for it. Healing inside a relationship doesn't happen because everything goes right. It happens because conflict is handled with care instead of contempt. Contempt kills intimacy faster than betrayal. Eye rolls, sarcasm, dismissiveness, silence used as leverage. These things erode trust quietly over time. Healing means choosing respect even when emotions are high. It means slowing your words down when your nervous system wants to speed them up. It means asking yourself before you speak, will this bring us closer, or will it just release my frustration? Choosing someone daily doesn't mean ignoring your needs. It means honoring them without making your partner the enemy. Some days choosing love looks like patience. Other days it looks like boundaries. Healing isn't self-sacrifice, it's self-awareness. You can love someone deeply and still say, "This doesn't feel right for me. I need space to process. I need us to grow here." That's not abandonment, that's maturity. Forgiveness also includes forgiving yourself for staying too long in places that didn't nourish you, for loving people who couldn't love you back in the same language, for missing signs you didn't know how to read yet. You did the best you could with who you were at the time. Healing means not carrying guilt into the future as proof of growth. You don't heal by becoming harder. You heal by becoming clearer. Clear about what you deserve. Clear about what you can offer. Clear about the difference between effort and availability. Choosing someone daily means waking up and deciding to stay emotionally present, not just physically nearby. It means checking in instead of checking out. It means asking how your partner is really doing, not just how their day went. It means noticing when distance is forming and addressing it before it becomes familiar. Distance isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like routines replacing curiosity, like conversations becoming logistical instead of emotional, like assuming instead of asking. Healing love notices these shifts early. It doesn't panic, but it doesn't ignore them either. Choosing someone daily means choosing curiosity over certainty. Instead of saying, "I know you," you say, "Help me understand you now." Because people change, and love that lasts allows room for that change. Forgiveness becomes essential here. You forgive your partner for evolving, for growing in directions that challenge you, for outgrowing old versions of themselves, and inviting you to do the same. Healing also means learning how to repair. Arguments aren't the problem. Unrepaired arguments are. Repair looks like returning after conflict and saying, "I don't like how that went. I still care about you. Can we try again with softer words?" Repair is not weakness, it's devotion in action. Choosing someone daily means not letting pride win small battles at the cost of long-term connection. It means apologizing without adding justification, listening without preparing a rebuttal, and allowing yourself to be influenced by someone you respect. Forgiveness doesn't mean staying in harm. If something keeps breaking you, healing may mean leaving. Choosing someone daily includes choosing yourself. Love is not endurance at the expense of your well-being. True healing love doesn't ask you to disappear to make it work. It asks you to arrive fully. And when two people do that, when both are willing to be accountable, open, and patient, something rare happens. The relationship becomes a place where one don't get triggered as often, not because they're gone, but because they're understood. Safety grows. Not the kind that keeps you stagnant, the kind that allows you to grow without fear of being abandoned for it. Choosing someone daily means staying emotionally awake, not numbing out, not going on autopilot, not assuming love will maintain itself. Love is a living thing. It responds to care. It weakens with neglect. Healing teaches you this gently, sometimes painfully, but honestly. And when you choose someone daily, knowing all of this, love stops feeling fragile. It feels intentional. And intentional love doesn't need to be dramatic to be profound. It just needs two people willing to keep showing up with honesty, forgiveness, and the courage to begin again even when yesterday was hard. It isn't about grand gestures. It isn't about flashy declarations of love or dramatic proofs of devotion. Loyalty is revealed in the small, consistent choices you make every day in moments when no one is watching. Loyalty is showing up, even when you're tired, even when it's inconvenient, even when the world outside your relationship seems to promise something easier. It's the decision to protect something valuable, even when it doesn't benefit you directly. The most loyal people don't need recognition. They don't need applause. They stay because they know what is worth staying for. They stay because they respect the trust that has been placed in them. And that leads us to the second part, respect. Respect in love is not just about politeness or avoiding hurtful words. Respect is recognizing the other person as a whole human being with their own history, needs, and vulnerabilities. It is not trying to mold them into someone you prefer or demanding that they behave according to your expectations. True respect looks like listening when they speak, not just waiting for your turn to talk, honoring boundaries even if they inconvenience you, valuing their time, emotions, and experiences as much as you value your own, treating disagreements as opportunities for understanding, not weapons to win. Without respect, loyalty is hollow. Without loyalty, respect is theoretical. Together, they form a foundation strong enough to withstand life's inevitable storms. Emotional maturity is the third pillar, and it ties everything together. Maturity in love isn't measured by age or experience alone. It's measured by how you handle yourself under pressure, disappointment, and uncertainty. Immature love reacts. Mature love responds. Immature love blames. Mature love takes accountability. Immature love seeks validation. Mature love gives reassurance without being asked. Emotional maturity means understanding your triggers and being able to articulate your needs without attacking or manipulating your partner. It means recognizing that your partner is not responsible for your happiness, yet they are your chosen companion in the work of life. It's understanding that your partner's mistakes do not diminish their worth, just as your own mistakes do not define you. Emotional maturity allows both people in a relationship to be flawed and fully human without fear that love will vanish because of imperfection. This kind of love is not easy. It is deliberate. It requires effort and introspection. It demands that you confront your fears, biases, and insecurities and commit to being better, not for anyone else, but for the sake of the shared life you are building together. Loyalty, respect, and emotional maturity are tested constantly. Life will present moments when anger, stress, or disappointment tempt you to withdraw, judge, or act impulsively. The measure of true love is how you choose to act in those moments. Do you lash out, or do you pause, breathe, and respond with care? Do you accuse, or do you seek to understand? Do you shut down, or do you communicate with honesty and calm? These decisions, repeated daily, build a relationship that is resilient, compassionate, and deeply fulfilling. Loyalty without respect can become controlling. Respect without loyalty can become distant. Emotional immaturity can unravel both. But when all three are present, love becomes more than feeling. It becomes a practice. It is a practice in which both people grow individually and together. A practice in which both people feel safe to be themselves while contributing to something larger than their individual desires. The challenges of life will inevitably test loyalty. There will be times when fear tempts you to abandon, times when miscommunication could turn into misunderstanding, times when life pressures seem unbearable. Loyalty means saying, I am here, I will not abandon what we have built. I will work through this with you. Respect means saying, I see you. I hear you. I honor your experience even when it differs from mine. Emotional maturity means saying, I understand my role in this situation. I will not project my fears onto you. I will take responsibility for my actions and choices. When all three converge, love becomes a safe harbor, not because the outside world disappears, but because the bond inside the relationship is fortified. Love like this does not guarantee a perfect life. It guarantees a shared life where both people can navigate imperfections with compassion, understanding, and patience. Part of emotional maturity is also learning when to step back. It is understanding that space is sometimes necessary, not as punishment, but as a form of respect. Space allows reflection, growth, and the renewal of commitment. Another quiet aspect of loyalty is trust. Trust is not given lightly. It is earned and reinforced through consistent behavior. Emotional maturity ensures that trust is nurtured, not manipulated. Loyalty upholds that trust by showing up, keeping promised, and even when it is uncomfortable. A relationship built on loyalty, respect, and emotional maturity required not the obsessive kind, but the mindful kind. It requires asking yourself every day, am I being present? Am I listening fully? Am I acting from love rather than fear? Am I choosing us even when I feel misunderstood? The answer is not always yes, and that is acceptable. What matters is the willingness to correct course, apologize, and try again. This kind of love does not require perfection. It requires perseverance. It does not demand that you always feel passion. It requires that you always feel responsibility. It does not insist on constant excitement. It requires consistent presence. Loyalty, respect, and emotional maturity are quiet. They are subtle. They are not newsworthy. They're the invisible forces that make love last. And here is a truth that is rarely spoken. When a person demonstrates loyalty, respect, and emotional maturity over time, you begin to trust love itself. You begin to believe that it is possible to be loved without having to perform, without having to hide, without having to prove that you are worthy. You start to understand that love is not something you find and keep like an object. It is something you practice and live, day after day, in small but meaningful choices. Those choices, repeated, mindful, and sincere, form the quiet architecture of a lasting relationship. When you find someone who mirrors this, someone who chooses to uphold loyalty, respect, and emotional maturity in return, you realize that the most extraordinary relationships are not flashy or dramatic. They are steady, grounded, and life-affirming. You finally understand that love is less about magic and more about presence, less about perfection and more about consistency, less about being swept away and more about showing up over and over with intention. This is the kind of love that carries you through heartbreak. This is the kind of love that grows with each challenge. This is the kind of love that transforms not just your relationship, but your understanding of yourself and the world. And that is the quiet power of loyalty, respect, and emotional maturity.